If you're looking to make solar simple, give Ron Domenico with AD Energy a call. All-day energy made simple. Solar solutions with zero down, options to lease or finance, and roofs and trees are no issue. Call Ron Domenico at 609-226-2802 and tell him you saw him on the Sports Box.
Well, hello again and welcome to the show that hopefully you're not scared to watch it at night. This is the Sports Box, the only opinion that matters. It's right here. I am Mike Galetta, a.k.a. Hampton Mike, along with my partner, Brian, the Ranger Tar. Brian, how are you? I get changed up a little bit.
I'm good. No, I'm good. You know, I thought for a second that you were actually going to throw the projectile.
Just a second.
That was a great fake out.
It was, wasn't it?
That was like a Denny Savard little spinorama. I didn't think you were going to do.
In the future, I'm going to pump fake, so you're going to like that. Anyway, we're moving on with our playoff NHL analysis. Let's talk about the Central Division playoffs, Brian. We're going to talk about the Chicago Blackhawks and Nashville Predators.
They're there
the Preds.
They're there every year, the Blackhawks, huh?
Hey, you know what? I hate to do it, but I'm going to do it. I got to give Brian credit. He told me that Chicago was going to get there again. I said Chicago's going down a little bit. They might not make the playoffs, but guess what, Brian? They are here again.
Make the playoffs. They're number one in the West.
They're number three. They're number three overall in the league. You talk about the Predators, 15. Predators limp in a little bit with some injuries.
Yeah.
I don't think the Subban trade really made them that much better.
And I thought that it would. We both thought that it would.
But I didn't see the need to make that trade. I can understand it with the contracts and everything like that, but you really kept the teams the same. If anything, Montreal got a little better with Shea Weber. But Shea Weber's got a ton of money, so I knew the Predators couldn't do
long term.
So anyway, let's talk about the matchups. You talk about Chicago with 109 points. You talk about the Predators with 94. Predators have been, not healthy the whole year. A lot of guys in and out of the lineups. And of course, I go right to goaltending because I'm the goaltending guy that I am. I love Pekka Rinne. I think he's a solid goaltender, tall guy, can get across the net, just can't get it done when it matters. I mean, in the playoffs, he's been stymied, maybe a round or two in, but he really can't get them over it. He's not the kind of goaltender to say, get on my back and I'm going to carry. He's just not that goaltender. And here he is, I don't want to say on the downside of his career, but he is getting up there in age. He's got to slow the Chicago team down. You got Corey Crawford in net and Scott Darling, a good backup for them. A lot of firepower in net for the Chicago team.
The thing to me, and I made this comment, Mike, in regards to the Toronto Maple Leafs about the scoring system in the league. There's 82 games in a season.
I think it sucks,
and Nashville won 41 of them. So it just happened to be that 12 of their losses came in the extra session. Yeah. So from that standpoint...
Did I mention I hate the overtime?
You do hate the overtime.
Yeah, I do.
It's an interesting series here, Mike, and I got to tell you, I am frankly, I'm taking a look here at some of these numbers. I'm kind of surprised how bad the Blackhawk special teams are.
Yeah.
If you had asked me, sight unseen, what that was like, I would not have guessed that the Hawks' PK is 24th and their power play is 19th.
And that's going to be the chink in the armor that the Predators are going to have to take advantage if they have any chance to win the series.
Yeah.
Not that they are, an absolute power play killer on their own. I mean, they're not power play 16th in the league and then 15th in penalty kill, but they really got to come huge in this series, and they got to slow this firepower of Chicago down.
Well, I think what they're going to have to do, and again, I've kind of soured on Rinne, frankly. Mm-hmm. I'm here, this is not cat of the bag. I think Chicago wins the series. I made a preseason bet with a friend of mine over a Starbucks coffee that's waiting for me when Nashville doesn't get to the second round, because I think that Rinne is on the downside of his career in a big way.
I think he is. Still.
Yeah, especially early on in the year. Now he's found his game a little bit here in the second half, but I don't think that he's helped this team, frankly. No. I look at what this team has been able to do offensively, and I'm encouraged by that. I think Laviolette, as you know, as a Flyers fan know, great offensive head coach. But you look at what Victor Arvidsson out of nowhere with 31 goals. Filip Forsberg, a really slow start to the season, had back-to-back hat tricks this year in a couple of games, 31 goals as well. James Neal's a guy who always seems to put those numbers up there.
Mike Fisher, solid player.
The biggest point to me was Ryan Johansson. A guy who they traded with Columbus in that Seth Jones deal, only 14 goals this year, and he played every game. So from that, I'm a little surprised that he wasn't really, higher up, in the goal scoring there. But, Chicago, again, every year, they seem to find these guys out of nowhere. Last year was Panarin. This year, Richard Panik, 22 goals. Ryan Hartman, 19 goals. These are not household names.
Subban had 10, but that's kind of a down year for him.
Especially
with 30 assists.
Weber at 17 for Montreal.
Exactly.
For this here, I feel... The numbers would indicate that Nashville should be closer in this series.
Because again, would be.
Their power play is a touch better. Mm-hmm. Their PK is a couple touches better, both penalty killing and their PK Subban. Pardon the pun. But Chicago just wins games. Chicago just wins games this time of year. Again, it's a team with just so much pedigree, so much playoff experience. The regular season in Chicago is becoming like the regular season for the Yankees in that nobody cares. It's all about what you do in the playoffs because you've won it so many times. For me, I think the main difference here is going to be the leadership of a guy like Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews, guys that have been there and done that. Kane, 34 goals this year. Again, he is who he is.
Well, let's just run down there. We got Kane, Hossa, Jonathan Toews, Duncan Keith. I mean, these are guys that have been there, done that are proven in the playoffs. So not only have they done it in the regular season, they just get better in the playoffs. So I can see Nashville keeping this a close series, and I don't want to say possibly winning because I don't think they can win this series, but they're really going to have to slow down Chicago and take advantage of the power play. That's the only way they have a shot at winning this series, because I think Chicago, again, comes down like waves of Washington. They could win this series going away. I'm not as down as Pekka Rinne as you are. I mean, he is on the downside of his career, I think, and he has had a good season at 2.42. I never was a big fan of Corey Crawford, but Corey Crawford this year, 2.55, 32 wins, 18 losses, has proven me wrong again this year. So I mean, I think both save percentages are good. I got to give that on to Corey Crawford, and overall, I think Chicago takes the series down to 6.
I agree. Chicago wins the series as well, as I mentioned. A big thing here is Artem Anisimov missed some time. He's going to be back for Game 1 of the playoffs, so they're going to be pretty much at full strength there. For me, like I said, I think Chicago wins the series. For Nashville to really extend this into a 7th game situation, I think they really are going to have to find goal scoring outside of the top 3. They need Ryan Johansson, P.A. Parento, even a guy like Mike Fisher to score goals, because I think that Chicago's smart enough to take out your best weapons, and I think they're going to be able to do that with Forsberg and Arvidsson.
And I think they have to do that on the power play, because with Duncan Keith out there and the defense that Chicago has, it's going to be tough even to get by Corey Crawford. So,
but having said that, Chicago can't sleepwalk through the series.
No.
Again, this is not a slouch team in Nashville.
No.
I mean, again, I know that they're basically 500. They won as many games as they lost.
Right.
But because the Blackhawks' special teams have not been good, both sides, I think that's an opportunity for them to really, if they're going to make it a shorter series, which to keep their guys healthier, they need to cash in on the power play, which they should have a better power play than 19.
They should.
These are some excellent offensive names on this team. That should be a bit of more of a strength. PK, again, they're going to have to make sure that they stay out of the box against this team, but again, they have the pedigree to do it. I like Chicago here. I'm going to take 6 games as well.
Yep. So, on to our next matchup, but before we do that, check out our sponsor.
This episode of The Sports Box is brought to you by Mic'd Up Entertainment and DJ Mike Velardi. For all of your event planning needs, make sure you contact Mike at 609-864-5925 and tell him that you saw him on The Sports Box.
And there you have it. So let's move on to the next one, which I love to talk about. You got those Minnesota Wild against those St. Louis Blues. The Wild comes in here, a lot of single digits. You'd never think about the Minnesota Wild. I thought a long time ago, Minnesota should have never lost the North Stars. They should have never went to Dallas, but I know whatever happens. I'm just glad Minnesota got a team back. Here come Minnesota Wild, 4th overall in the league, 3rd in defense, or 3rd in offense, 7th in defense, 9 on the power play, and 8th on the penalty kill. You want to talk about a balanced team here, Brian? This Minnesota Wild team is not the same old Wild team that you saw before, and neither the Blues. The Blues come in here a lot of double digits, but 4th on the penalty kill.
The Blues, after Ken Hitchcock moved on, really surprising. I remember halfway through the season, the Blues were my pick to win this whole thing this year. And
I think I had the Blues in the playoffs.
I like them every year because I like the way their team's put together. They trade away Kevin Shattenkirk to Washington. I think everybody knew that was going to happen because they weren't going to lose him for nothing. I don't think that he's necessarily him not being there has really hurt them that much. Again, this is going to be a series of really excellent special teams. Again, 8th and 9th PK penalty power play for Minnesota, 4th and 8th PK power play for St. Louis. So the special teams here are on par. And it's going to be really interesting to see, which power play can break through, because the power plays are very close. Penalty killing is a little bit more of an edge to St. Louis. But, you take a look at a little bit here of what these teams are bringing to the table. And again, I just don't think that anybody expected Eric Staal to have 28 goals this year.
No.
As a Ranger fan, the slop he put on the ice for the Rangers after the deadline last year.
He tore it up this year.
I didn't think Eric Staal was going to score 28 goals again the rest of his career. And here he comes to lead this team in scoring. Michael Granlund second there. Niederreiter, not the Islander fans. Niederreiter third with 25. It's a team that gets the balance there. Parise has missed some time.
Yeah,
but
and so is Suter. He's out most of the year too.
But now Suter actually played every game. Suter has played.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
I think you're thinking of the guy right below him, Ryan White.
Exactly.
But what's interesting to me here is, I think if Minnesota could walk away from that Parise deal scot-free, they would. It's a lot of money.
Yeah,
it's a lot of money to have.
So they rolled the dice and they take a chance.
But it's a lot of money to have to be fifth on your team in goals.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you talk about Giroux's contract all the time. I mentioned Rick Nash. He's their guy. Mm-hmm. Not really doing anything there. Acquired Martin Hansel at the deadline. I don't necessarily know that it was needed, but whatever. You want to go deeper, that's fine.
Get you over the top a little bit.
Yeah. St. Louis has not missed David Backes at all. Tarasenko, almost 40 goals this year. Just one of the best guys that nobody talks about, and people talk about him, honestly. Mm-hmm. Patrick Berglund, nice year with 23, but they're very top heavy. Only two guys on St. Louis scored more than 20 goals, and those are guys Tarasenko and Berglund. So the one thing about St. Louis versus Minnesota is, for a change, Minnesota's got more offensive depth, and it hasn't always been that way.
And I thought St. Louis was going to struggle after Oshie left, but Tarasenko's going to get his goals, 38 goals, like he did again this year. Paul Stastny, you got some guys on this team that have been around there scoring some goals, different to that effect, but this St. Louis team doesn't impress me at all, really. They've gotten here, and solidly they've had 97 points, which is
surprising.
Which is very surprising. I mean, we probably didn't think they were going to get this far.
We left them for dead halfway through.
Yeah,
we think they were going to be a playoff team.
Their goalie situation. You look at Minnesota's situation with Devon in goal. Devon Dubnyk, sorry. Dubnyk, sorry.
But everybody gets that one wrong.
And I always get it wrong, so what a surprise. With Devon Dubnyk in goal, and you got Jake Allen on the other side. Jake Allen's no slouch in this position. 32 and 20, 2.43 goals against, save percentage, 914. Then you look at Dubnyk, .923, 225. I think he's really played well this year. Mm-hmm. He's played a solid goal this year, 40 and 19. I think Minnesota can really, really make some waves in this series. I really think they make a statement, to be honest with you, in this series. I'm taking a Wild in 5, possibly a sweep.
Really?
I think Minnesota comes to play in the playoffs, even though St. Louis has been there before with Tarasenko scoring everything. I just think Minnesota's going to lay it all out there. I mean, this is their team they put together with everything together, and they're ready to make a run. Are they going to go deep into the playoffs? That's to be determined in the second round, but I think they steamroll St. Louis, and I don't think St. Louis has the horses to keep up with this freight train coming through in the Minnesota Wild.
Interesting subplot for me, Mike, is Mike Yeo, the coach of the Blues, former coach of the Wild.
Yo!
I agree. I would love to pick St. Louis in this series. I've always been a fan of their team.
You're not going to.
But I'm not going to.
No.
Minnesota is the better team in pretty much every facet of the game
here.
I feel very comfortable picking Minnesota here. And this is the one thing, Minnesota's got the home ice, which they never seem to have.
Yep.
They're not playing a team like Chicago or Dallas early on, teams that have been, that have stifled them in the past. They have the advantage here. Mm-hmm. They were a team that was leading the West for the longest time, and Chicago sniped them right at the end. Mm-hmm. Again, they score goals, and I think that's the one difference with Minnesota this year compared to previous years is they have depth scoring.
Yep.
Will the Eric Staal Cinderella thing fall apart?
It should slow down a little bit.
I don't know. But when you look at a team, like I said, with the depth that Minnesota has compared to the top heaviness that St. Louis has, I feel comfortable that if St. Louis is able to stop Staal, I think Granlund does okay.
Yep.
So there's guys that are going to do well if you take away their biggest weapons. I think Minnesota can do it. I also like Minnesota. I think it goes to 6. I don't think it goes to 7, but I wouldn't rule it out. I don't see a sweep here. I think there's too much pride in St. Louis and too much of the holdover from last year's team that went to the conference finals to go out that early or that easily. I don't think the Blues match up well at all with Minnesota. I like Minnesota in the series. I'll take them in 6.
I'm saying Minnesota 5, possibly sweep.
You're going to have some really angry people in St. Louis. Hate mail. It's going to be coming in.
Yeah, I always hate you.
This is Mike, though.
People that watch the show hate me.
People in St. Louis, I'm Brian. That's Mike. Land-based Mike. I wasn't that mean.
The people in Atlanta, we love you.
Hey,
anyway.
The Falcons?
Yeah.
Jeez.
We could talk about the Thrashers a little bit. Oh, God, I'm sorry. Anyway.
And you know what? I guarantee they won't lose.
No, they won't. They won't. Oh, God. Anyway, that's all the time we have. We thank you for watching our Central Division matchups. Keep an eye out. We always have good stuff coming. We're going to have more matchups. And remember, you can always get us on social media.
So if you want to send Mike hate mail, here's how to get him some hate mail. You can find us on Facebook at Sportsbox Show, on Twitter at Sportsbox Show, and of course, the comment section of our videos. We'd love to hear from you guys as to what you like, what you didn't. Let us know where we're off base or how right on we are. We love hearing that. But again, make sure you're subscribing to our YouTube channel as well. All of our content's going to be there for you, and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
I love the hate mail. Just keep sending it to my house if you need to. I'll check the mailbox every day. It's not a problem. You want to throw it on YouTube, not a problem. We'll put you on the air. You'll love it. So remember, at the Sports Box, the only opinion that matters.
Oh, it's right here until you get hate mail.
Oh, no, it's still here. We get hate mail. It'll still be here. Still be here tomorrow and next week and the day after that. See it. 1, 2, 3.
Don't forget to subscribe.